Death came for him 3 times, and each time, he found a way to send it back. My children, gather close and let me tell you a story the elders whisper when the night is too still, when the moon hides behind the clouds, and when even the dogs lie quiet in their corners. For it is not every day that a mortal meets death and lives to tell of it, not once, not twice, but thrice. There was a boy named Tay. An orphan, small in body but quick in mind, with eyes that seemed to notice more than they should. His father had gone to the ancestors before Tay could walk. His mother followed not long after, leaving him in the care of her elder sister, Ayabo. Now, Ayabo was not the kind of aunt who wraps you in warm cloth when the harmattan winds bite. No. Her heart was sharp, her eyes sharper, and her words sharper still. She fed Tay enough to keep him standing, worked him harder than the goats, and gave him little kindness beyond what others might see. Yet the boy survived, for in this life, survival is sometimes the greatest form of wisdom. The first time death came for Tay, it was a night like no other. The moon was swollen and red, hanging low over the palm trees as if it wished to listen. The village lay silent, even the frogs in the marsh had fallen quiet. Tay had finished his chores late that evening. He sat outside, watching the stars blink one by one into being. Then, a sound. Tap, tap, tap. Slow, steady, unhurried, like the knock of a staff on the earth. He looked toward the path leading to the forest. And there it was. Tall, draped in a robe that swallowed the starlight, its face hidden behind a mask carved from something older than wood, whiter than bone. The mask had no mouth, yet when it spoke, the voice came from everywhere at once. Tay, it said, your time has come. The boy's heart tottered. His mouth went dry. But he did not run. He remembered the old proverb, the bird that flies without thought will fly into the hunter's net. So he bowed his head and said, if my time has come, let me give you a gift first. Surely death, who takes from all, has never been given something in return. The masked head tilted. A gift? Yes, Tay said. But I am poor and have nothing ready. Give me until the first cock crows, and I will bring it to you. Perhaps death was curious. Perhaps it was amused. Whatever the reason, it said, until the first cock crows. Tay turned and walked quickly into the night. Not toward the market, not toward any neighbor's hut, but toward the far end of the village, where an old mortar lay half buried in the ground. It was said that once, a spirit had hidden inside it to escape a hunter, and the mortar still carried a fragment of that magic. He climbed inside, calling himself small, pulling an old cloth over his head. Then he whispered, hide me, spirit of the mortar. Let death seek elsewhere tonight. The air inside grew warm. The sound of the night dulled, as if he were deep underwater. Death came, as promised, tap, 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 stopping where Tay had been sitting. It searched. It stepped to the left, to the right, even toward the mortar, but the spirit's magic hid him. When the first cock crowed, the sound cut through the air like a blade. Death paused. Another night, it said, and was gone. Tay climbed out, heart still racing. He knew this was not the end. Death is patient. Death forgets no one. But he had bought himself another day. And my children, never forget, a single day can be enough to change everything. 3 days later, the sky hung low and heavy, a blanket of grey that pressed on the rooftops. The air smelled of rain that would not fall. The women pounded yam in slow, distracted rhythms, the men mended nets, glancing often at the forest. Tay went about his chores, but his eyes kept flicking toward the trees. He jumped at the crack of a stick. Ayabo noticed. She was not a gentle woman, but she was not a fool. She thought, why is this boy so uneasy? What danger walks with him that I do not see? That night, after the fires died, she pretended to sleep but watched him closely. When he slipped from the compound, she followed, careful as a shadow. Past the yam barn, down the slope, into a grove of palms, there stood the shrine of Esu, the trickster. Cowries and calabashes at its feet, red cloth wrapped around its form. Tay knelt, placed kola nut and palm oil at the base, and whispered, Esu, master of crossroads, hide me. Death seeks me again. confuse it until morning. The cloth stirred though there was no wind. Somewhere in the darkness, a laugh echoed, warm and mocking. At midnight, tap, tap, tap came again. Death entered the grove, smaller this time, bent like an old man, mask streaked with red. Asu's voice drifted through the air. "Oh, Death. Shall we play a game? Find him before the cock crows, and he is yours. Fail, and you leave him be." Death searched, under palms, behind roots, in the hollow of the sick cotton tree. Each time, Asu's laugh danced in the air, leading it astray. At last, the cock crowed. Death froze, then hissed, "You win, this time." Tay emerged at dawn, unaware that Ayabo had watched it all. And in her eyes, something dark began to grow, not fear, but hunger. Ayabo could not stop thinking about what she had seen. Her sister's boy had stood before Death not once, but twice, and lived. She did not know every detail, but she knew enough to believe he had a way to push Death back. And in Ayabo's heart, my children, there was a thirst. Not for water. Not for food. But for more years to wear fine wrappers to the market, to hear people whisper about her beauty, to count her cowries in the firelight. She thought, if this boy can keep Death away, why should I not take that power for myself? One humid afternoon, while Tay mended a fishing net, Ayabo told her children she was going to the river market. Instead, she took the path toward the edge of the forest, where the air smelled of damp leaves and the light dimmed under the trees. At the end stood a hut patched with clay, its palm frond roof sagging. Dried herbs hung from the eaves like sleeping bats. Inside, a small fire burned, smoke curling around bundles of roots and jars filled with dark liquids. The herbalist looked up as she entered. His back was bent from years of pounding bark and grinding seeds. His eyes were milky, but they saw more than most. "Ayabo," he rasped, "who troubles your sleep?" She lowered her voice. "Boba, I want Death to come for someone. My nephew." His brows lifted. "Death is not a goat you can lead by rope. It comes when it wishes." "Then tell me how to make it wish sooner." He studied her for a long while. "There is a powder," he said at last. "It marks the sleeper for the eyes of Death. Scatter it in a circle around where they rest, and Death will see a path straight to them." He reached behind him and brought out a small calabash sealed with wax. "But you must pay." She placed 2 strings of cowries in his palm. He nodded once, and she left with the calabash hidden in her wrapper. That night, after the village fires died, Tay lay on his mat beneath the stars, the night air warm on his skin. Ayabo waited until his breathing slowed. Then she crept from her hut, broke the wax seal, and dipped her fingers into the powder. It was black and gritty, colder than it should have been. She sprinkled it carefully in a perfect circle around his mat. For a moment, it glimmered faintly, then sank into the earth. She stepped back, a smile curling her lips. "Now we will see," she whispered. The next day passed quietly. Tay fetched water, carried firewood, mended the goat pen. But that evening, a strange weight seemed to settle on his chest. The wind shifted oddly, carrying the faint, sharp smell of metal. By midnight, tap, tap, tap came again. Faster this time. Closer. The air turned cold, colder than Harmattan's breath. Shadows leaned toward him. And there it was, taller than before, staff in hand, mask pale as the moon. "Tay," Death said, "you have run twice. Tonight, you run no more." Tay's heart tottered, but his mind spun. There was no mortar this time, no shrine. Only his tongue. "If you take me now," he said, "you win easily. But where is the glory in catching prey that does not even run?" "Glory." Death tilted its head. "Yes. Give me one night to prepare myself, and I will come to you willingly. I will even bring you a gift worthy of the great Death." Silence. Then, one night. "At the next moon's peak, I will return. And you will not escape." The cold lifted. Death was gone. Inside her heart, Ayabo had heard it all. A gift for Death. If Tay could find such a thing, she could take it, and bargain for her own life. And so, as they began to plan, Aibo began to plan too, a plan far more dangerous than his. Tay lay awake under the stars, thinking of what he could give Death that might be worthy enough to spare his life again. He had no gold, no treasures, no power. But then, a memory came, his mother's voice on a cold Harmattan night, telling him of a thing older than the oldest spirit, the calabash of truth. It was said that whoever looked inside it would see their true self, stripped of all lies and masks. Even Death had once looked into it, and what it saw drove it away for 100 years. If the calabash still existed, and if they could find it, perhaps Death would turn away again. Before dawn, he rose quietly, taking only a small gourd of water and a slingshot tucked into his waistband. He walked past the yam fields, through the elephant grass, into the forest where the air was cool and damp. By midday, he reached the oldest part of the forest, where the trees grew so close their roots tangled together like locked fingers. In the heart of this place stood a silk cotton tree so massive its trunk seemed to hold up the sky. And in a hollow at its base, there it was. The calabash of truth. Small, glowing faintly, as if it carried its own light. Tay reached for it, but a shadow moved. An old woman stepped forward, her hair white as river foam, her eyes deep as wells. She leaned on a crooked staff. "Why do you seek the calabash?" she asked. "Death comes for me," Tay said. "I seek to turn it away. Many have sought it for greed, for power, for revenge. Why should I give it to you? Because I have nothing else. And because I would rather face death with truth in my hands than run empty-handed." She studied him, then said, "Answer me 3 questions, and it is yours. Fail, and the forest will keep you." Her staff tapped the ground. "First, what is faster than the wind?" "A thought," Tay said. "It can cross the world in a breath." She nodded. "Second, what is deeper than the ocean?" "The heart of a mother who loves her child." Her eyes softened. "Third, what is stronger than death?" "The name you leave behind." She smiled. "Take it." Tay lifted the calabash carefully, tucking it into his tunic. He turned toward the path home, unaware that Aibo had followed him from the village, keeping to the shadows. Her eyes fixed on the god. She thought, "This is the gift. With it, I will make my bargain. Even if it cost his life." She followed him all the way to a stream crossing, waiting for her chance. When Tay knelt to drink, setting the calabash on a rock, she stepped out from the trees. "Tay," she said sweetly, "what a long walk you've had. And what are you doing here? I might ask you the same. What is that you carry?" "It is nothing." She took a step closer, her voice dropping. "Give it to me." "I cannot." "It is for death." "Then you will give it to me, or you will not live to give it to anyone." She lunged. They struggled in the shallow stream, water splashing around them. Her hands clawed for the god, he fought to keep it away. "Stop," he cried. "If you take it, death will come for you." "Then let it," she spat. "Better it come to me prepared than to you with empty hands." She got hold of it, but her foot slipped on a mossy stone. She fell backward into the water, the calabash flying from her grip. Tay dove and caught it just before it hit a rock. He stood, dripping, looking down at her. For a moment, he could have left her there. Let the stream take her. But his heart would not harden all the way. He helped her to the bank. She sat shivering, glaring. "You think kindness will save you? Death cannot be tricked forever." "Maybe not," he said. "But neither can greed." He turned and walked on, leaving her staring after him, her hatred burning hotter than ever. Night fell, heavy and still. The moon hung high, white and cold, watching everything below. Tay sat in the compound, the calabash of truth in his lap. He had polished it clean, placed kola nut beside it, not for death, but for the ancestors, that they might walk with him in this meeting. Then came the sound, tap, tap, tap. Slow. Measured. Certain. Death stepped into the moonlight. This time, its mask was half black, half white, day and night split down the middle. Death said, the night has come. Have you brought me my gift? I have, said, rising. But you must look inside before you take me. Death tilted its head. And why should I? Because you are great, yet even the great must face the truth. Look inside, and you will see something no one else can show you. The air thickened. Then Death stepped forward. Show me. Lifted the lid. A faint golden light spilled out, touching Death's mask. Death looked inside, and for the first time, it stepped back. What it saw, no living soul can say, but the mask trembled, and the staff lowered. Before Death could speak, a voice caught the air. Give it to me. Ayebo burst from her heart, eyes wide. She rushed forward, seizing the calabash from Tay's hands. She tore off the lid and looked inside. Her scream split the night. She dropped the gourd, covering her face, curling on the ground like a child in a storm. Death turned to her. You wish to see truth. Now you will live with it until I return for you. Then Death faced Tay. You have given me a gift worth more than your life. For this, I will not take you tonight. But remember, no one escapes me forever. Guard your days well. And it was gone. In the morning, Ayebo was silent, her eyes empty, staring into nothing. She never spoke of what she saw. Years passed. Tay grew into a man, lean and strong. He kept the calabash of truth hidden. He walked, he laughed, but he watched the horizon each night, knowing Death would return. One Harmattan season, he cleaned the calabash again and carved on its lid a circle within a circle, the sign of endless return. It was on a full moon night after the Yam festival that the sound came again, tap, tap, tap. Death stood before him, mask now entirely white. Tay, it said, you have lived longer than most who bargain with me. But the road ends here. I know, Tay said. And I am ready. But I have a gift for you, as before. He opened the calabash. Light poured out, brighter than ever. Death looked inside, and its voice changed, no longer cold, but almost warm. You have given me myself, it said. It placed its staff at Tay's feet. Take this, and walk a while longer. When you are ready, bring it to me, and I will know your time has come. And with that, it vanished. Tay stood alone in the moonlight, the staff warm in his hands, its rhythm like a heartbeat. He knew he would not live forever. But when the day came, he would go to death not as prey, but as an old companion. And so, my children, the orphan outsmarted death, not by running fastest, not by fighting hardest, but by knowing this. To walk with death is to remember that every step is borrowed, and to spend it wisely. May your own steps be sure, and your days long.